I sure had a great experience last night engaging with The Dark Side of the Moon for the first time. Those two pieces. I mean, I've heard a variety of covers in my time in consuming music. Because, I've said many times, for me, music is very much a first passion in my life. It's part of the reason I brought music into a grander focus on this channel in conjunction to other entertainment ventures. For me, I just wanted to spotlight music at a deeper level because of my reverence for it. And covers especially I've been listening to a lot more lately. Admittedly, based on maybe past years. And it amazes me the diversity of application that artists have in creating faithful adaptations with this new transformation of craft. It's just so impressive to me where artists can go in the cover space. And there's a variety, like I said, of choices artists make. Sometimes artists will maintain the key, or they'll change the key of the original, of their transformation of the song in their version. They'll change the genre, the pacing, the speed, the intensity. There's so many different traits artists employ. And I've heard, again, quite a variety. I've explored many on this channel that fit, again, that diverse range. The Dark Side of the Moon, though, impressed me a lot. Based on the two covers we've engaged with thus far, Jenny of Oldstones from the Game of Thrones song and inspiration, and Lord of the Rings' May It Be. Okay, I'm a big rock guy, so obviously the metal appeals to me, but I remember hearing both of those scores, in advance. I'm very familiar with Lord of the Rings, though I've never seen any of Game of Thrones, so I had to research that one a bit. And they were both admittedly very soft. Like ballad, kind of like, a very soft, like orchestral type song. Something that would fit, again, like an official Oscar-winning, score, something like that, or a prestigious TV project, as Game of Thrones certainly is in regard. And then for Dark Side of the Moon to come along and take this rock approach with like a metal emphasis, I'm like, you know what? I'm here for it, because the application was like, it was stunning to me, but it was so effective. I'm like, this is new. And I quite like it. So, of course, I'm engaged with more works. At present, I have two more planned. I've been planning to get to them since last night. I was going, in fact, as I said in that video, I had an outside obligation I had to pause for, and I'm like, I wish I didn't have to, because I wanted to keep going. But I'm here tonight to continue the journey with Dark Side of the Moon, which I loved the introduction to. And I'm familiar with all the talents here, in regards to this being a hodgepodge of familiar names in the European scene. Whether it be Melissa Bonney from Anathema, I forget some of the names at the moment. I just finished, in fact, tonight covering the remainder of Untitled Chapter 3, so of course her name's come first on my mind. But two of the artists from Feuerschwang, who I've been listening to recently, in fact covering. I'll have publications of coverage out soon. I have to finish a couple more for them, and I'm madly in love with their work. And Amaranth, who I've liked from what I've heard as well, and they're coming too, through Melissa Bonney's real-life partner, the percussionist of that group. And I believe Feuerschwang's the one of the guitar players and the harp player. I've not covered many groups in this channel, by the way, with harp, or any, I don't think, with harp players. That's new. I haven't carried many of my playlists either that have a harp player. So it's like, again, this band is in such a fresh space. Very inventive covers and quite competent covers. Deeply transformational. Their songs were fabulous. And last night, like I said, May It Be stunned me. That one's good. And Jenny of Oldstones, that has the best headbang session I've ever seen in my life. It was so entertaining. I know, the song was great, and Melissa's vocals on that were incredible. I love her guttural range. You've never heard her before. She's got such a good range too. She can do exquisite ballad, high pitch, and then she's got a guttural scream. It's just masterful. But watching these two ladies swirling their heads around, it was just so funny. I've never seen that. Anyway, not two. I've seen one maybe, but not two in competition. Are we is there something I didn't hear about? We're trying to outdo one another. Maybe in comparison to other groups. Who can headbang the best? It was just hilarious to me. And I've rewatched the video several times for that particular shot. So of course I'm eager going into this to listen to more from Dark Side of the Moon. My introduction was wonderful. And we're going to get that with Double Trouble Lumos, continuing the cover theme. Though I guess I'm pretty sure most of the mainstay of their projects on the album, Metamorphosis, are following a cover path. There are a couple originals. In fact, the next track we'll be consulting on this channel is an original work of theirs, I believe. This is based, maybe some of you are familiar with that song name, this is based on the Harry Potter score, if you're not familiar with those movies. I think it's the main score. I'm pretty sure I think it's that one. I don't know for sure. They title it again, like I said, Hedwig's Theme. So I know the name Hedwig. I will admit, I'm not necessarily the most engaged Harry Potter fan, perhaps in comparison to a number of you, and I've made no secret on the channel about this, in past coverage and videos sporadically. I come at my content from a Christian perspective. So I will acknowledge, perhaps my dominant reasoning, really, since I was a kid, is that Christianity and sorcery, that is like the mainstay of, Harry Potter, to be fair, don't necessarily make for the most hospitable bedfellows, admittedly. But I will say in connection to the work, I'm very familiarized with its legacy, and I think its potency as a staple European art expression. Quite like, for example, Doctor Who, like in the British territory, that's sort of, I think, Harry Potter, generally speaking. I don't necessarily know which country within Europe, but it's a pretty big staple, not just in Europe, of course, that's where it originates, right, with J.K. Rowling's vision, but it's expanded worldwide. I mean, Harry Potter is an extremely popular brand. I mean, look at the cinematic root of it with all the movies and the brand extensions. Look at the video game sphere. And I will say, even going in conjunction to this, though I necessarily have never read the books in full and I've never watched the movies in full, I know the general story in part. I have followed some of the video game efforts specifically, and I've read up on parts to it, even if, again, like I said, I'm sort of in it at odd space with some elements. I cover entertainment projects quite routinely on this channel. Again, maybe for those of you who are consulting my work, I look at a mixture of artistic ventures, and the cinematic scene pops up pretty regularly. So, you have to be knowledgeable to a degree. And I have, consulted, I would say, in part, like the video game atmosphere. That's been a high degree of, I would say, acceptance within the Harry Potter brand. I mean, look at lately the Hogwarts Legacy game. That thing's sold like hotcakes. I mean, I will say, on a tangent point, we're going to get to the song in a minute. Again, this is all intertwined, or we're talking about maybe the essence of a song here, and what the cover's based on, but I haven't mentioned this yet. I've been looking for an opportunity. It amazes me with franchise adaptations in the video game space, which a lot of studios are trying to do these days of Hollywood fare. I have not seen a game as serviceable in execution as I have Hogwarts Legacy. That one impressed me from what I've seen in the gameplay, the development side to it. If you want an adaptation that imbues the spirit of the original franchise in the cinema space, and again, like I said, there's this blend happening across all different types of brands. Jurassic World, Dune's even doing this, Ghostbusters. I mean, again, there's so many ones I could mention. Fast and Furious, Star Wars, Marvel, DC. I mean, there's just too many. I've never seen a game replicate that tone so succinctly and to the vastness that Hogwarts Legacy did. There's a reason. There's several reasons. It's like one of the top-selling games right now. And I have followed that story, I'll be honest with you. I've looked into it. I've looked at some of the gameplay to get an informed perspective, again, why it's so successful, and it's why I can give you that take. Who was I following it? I know, like, everybody's streaming it. Melanie Mack. I think the channel goes by Melanie Mack Go Boom. It's Melanie Mack. That's her name of the content creator I'm thinking of. Highly recommend her work. She's got a great walkthrough series with Hogwarts Legacy. I thought it was quite funny. She's a very endearing presence and a fellow Christian, by the way. If you want a good content creator to follow, I high recommendation for her. Anyway, I've only seen I've seen some of her other content, to be fair. I've looked around, but she's a great content creator. If you want a way to explore that game, I guess you can with her. Anyway, she makes the videos quite fun. Anyway, I am so good at rambling on things. My general point here, I guess, is stating that I am not necessarily the most attached to the Harry Potter brand or the most familiarized in comparison to many of you, but I know things, so I know the score. I'm pretty sure at least it's the one I'm thinking of. Don't quote me on it, but I'm thinking it's, like, May It Be and Jenny of Olson is probably the one I'm thinking of as like the most significant Harry Potter tune. Let's consult Dark Side of the Moon's variation. I mean, again, like I said, those first two covers were deeply transformational to, generally speaking, very soft works. So where will this go? Because that score is also softer in its energy. And as similar to the last track we looked at, with, I forget the artist's name, but she was from Delane. There's a collaborative artist here through Rusanda Panfili. This video in part will be a first introduction to her work. From my brief read-up, she is a violin artist. Okay, I like string instruments, so maybe she'll be a fun presence, so I'll have to look in some of her other efforts. Who's she been attached to? I wonder if I give a quick perusing to her website, let's see if there's any associated names, because I've not heard of her before. She's got a beautiful name, though, Rusanda Panfili. Let's see. Where has she been attached to. She's got a single called Kalan. Okay, I'll look around and see some of her efforts, but these should be fun. I like string stuff. So something with a symphonic vibe here, especially for a group that's more mainstay in the rock space. Although they got a bit of a symphonic twist to them too, but it's more so like rock and metal specified. At least from what I've heard. I'd say it's actually more along the symphonic metal territory. There's more of an emphasis than maybe I'm giving it credit for. Let's see Dark Side of the Moon's take on this piece. I'm genuinely curious. And if you're somebody that's not familiarized with the way I format my coverage, I'll pull up the music video in a minute, but I do try and accommodate listener taste to the best extent that I can. So if you'd like to read along with the narrative of the piece, I will have the lyrics available for you based on the original score, and they'll track along with the song as we navigate our way through it. Okay. Double Trouble and Lumos. Let's hear, slash Lumos, whatever you call it. Let's hear the Dark Side of the Moon's variation on this and get a perspective, perhaps if you're not familiar like myself, on Rusanda Panfili. This will be an official introduction. I'll have to look deeper, as I said, in the future. But many of you, I'm sure, because I'm covering this late and I apologize, there's so many artists I consult, you know what you're getting, I'm sure, in consultation of this work as I'm going in, but you're getting the perspective of somebody who, again, is not. But has had a wonderful time thus far engaging with Dark Side of the Moon. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at this. And the Napalm Records label, it's always such a fun herald. Rough like the last ones. I like the eeriness of the depiction. Feels much more spooky and gothic. It's great. That string instrument is very fitting integration. I love hearing it. It is a score I thought too. That rapidity is wonderful. Wow. The scope is impressive. I'm just gelling with that riff. It's amazing to me. You know, it's funny. It's like it's a blend between Harry Potter if you want to be in Shakespeare. Like Macbeth comes to mind. This presence is gorgeous. Just as strong as the last two. Oh man. I never experienced it. Just sit down and take it in. Wow. I love this. This is why I started covering music on the channel. Stuff like this. Wow. You know, you don't even have to be an engaged Harry Potter fan to love that. Wow. Where can I begin with that piece? Man, almost like sweaty on how good it is. It's just like, okay, you know, you sometimes experience that with music, at least if you're me, where it just becomes such an intoxicating encounter where you're like, just sit back and you listen to it and then you find yourself just like almost exasperated because you just feel so engaged with it. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of a weird feeling. There's particular pieces where I listen to them, especially on like a first inclination or a first encounter, and it's that experience is so euphoric that I don't know. I've never done drugs in my life, but it's weird. It's like I equate it to a drug effect. I'm like, I don't know how to describe it. You just kind of get lost in the piece. You're like, just let it sink in, let it absorb you. But it takes this physical energy, like when you listen to the songs, like it just touches you. Where really do I begin with that piece? I love the Gothic style to it. The color palette is wonderful. It's very ominous and menacing. I don't know. I don't know. Like, would you Harry Potter fans compare it maybe in atmosphere? Because from my understanding, I do consider like the Harry Potter brand a bit lighter hearted, right? Just a bit, I think. I know it's got its ominous points, and there's a darker atmosphere to it, but this is... I love the styling of this video. It is just so unique. But the presence on that song, the strings. Rusanda Panfili. I don't know where she heralds from, but she's sort of like a Lindsay Sterling to me. Moldova. Okay. Or the Republic of Moldova. Again, I've never heard of her before. She is exquisite. I will be adding her name to the list. Here, I'm looking at an entry on her website. Hang on a second. During her musical journey, she worked alongside superstars like Hans Zimmer, Brian May, Gavin Greenaway, Gabriel Yared, Steve Vai, Guthrie Govan, Carlos Rafael Rivera, Valentina Nafornida, Tina Guo, Warkals, and it was so many different names there. She was admitted to the Conservatory of Music in Vienna at the age of 11. This woman is like highly equipped. I mean, her specific solo was like, and just hearing her integration as well with the blend of the harp and the riffs on, I think his name's Hans. I might have that wrong, but your lead guitarist part here from Feuerschwangs, just wonderful. Like everything here is so seamless, and Melissa Bonney's vocals as always, the command on her voice, the screams, the growls, everything works. It's so tight, it's so beautifully knit, but those violin solo sections for someone like me who's like diehard string listener, so attractive. I love the atmosphere to this piece. Just as good on delivery as the previous covers. I mean, again, I might not necessarily be the most astute or engaged Harry Potter fan, maybe in comparison to many of you who will grace my comments, and I'm sure it'll be a wonderful exchange to have in regards to everybody's feedback on this piece, even though, again, like I said, I'm consulting it a bit late, and I apologize. Wow. It's beautiful. See, like I said, this is why I love music. This is why I started covering music on the channel, because of my love for it, and songs like this, the personality to that is so original. I just love the intensity, and that is, part of the reason I don't really go driving much these days, but whenever I go driving, it's a must-have for me to put some music on in the car. This is going to sound beautiful. I tested this last night during, again, my obligation that I had to pause, and I really wish I hadn't had to do this, but as I mentioned with May It Be, I had to skedaddle to an outside activity. I would have much rather stayed home and covered the songs. I'm like, I wanted to hear this one. I was like, I'm engaged so far, 2 songs, need to hear more, and they've been sitting on my phone for a while. This is going to sound beautiful, because as I said, I tested this with May It Be and Jenny of Oldstones, and both had such wonderful presence on my stereo. This is going to sound amazing. I can't wait to hear it. I love this piece so much already. I've only listened to it once. Immediate re-listen on every level for me. The percussion worked, the harp worked, the guitar riffs are beautiful. Melissa Bonney's vocals, as always, are just transfixing, as mesmeric, and her growl is just wonderful. The integration of each element here for me, just perfect blend. So much unison and tightness in this piece. And Rusanda Panfili, what an exquisite performer. I love that violin. Those quick little strums, just, oh my gosh, I love it. I don't know. Again, I come at this angle from a musical connoisseur. I'm not a musician myself, although I'd have to dig back in my piano days, and that was only 5 years when I was a kid. Rusanda is exquisite, quite frankly. I want to hear it again. For every respect of the artist, right, with Dark Side of the Moon, everybody there, perfect tune in my opinion, and great integration on everybody's behalf. But Rusanda, wow, for first introductions, beautifully exquisite. I love her. I've only listened to her once. I'm like, I gotta hear more. This woman can play the violin. Like, no wonder she's got such acclaim. What are your guys' thoughts with that? And was that a first introduction for you to Rusanda Panfili? Just, man, I know, big takeaway. Again, Dark Side of the Moon, every credit in the world to that piece. It's so good in terms of its vision. And again, like I said, you don't even have to be the most engaged or even a Harry Potter fan, I think, to admire it. On a musical craft, that is a stark transformation. Like every other piece from theirs, I mean, again, it's so faithful, but it's this rock take that just, oh my gosh, it's so impressive to me. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below from whatever angle you come from. Are you a long-time listener thus far of The Dark Side of the Moon? And they are still establishing themselves, I know, but many of you have gotten to them in advance of me covering them. Or are you somebody that's approaching them for the first time? Let me know what your thoughts are down below, and whatever angle you come from, if you wish to disclose your perspective. And was that a first introduction for you to Rusanda Panfili? I mean, we were both in the same position if that was the case. I love what I've heard. That piece is so dynamic and original. I love its presence. Just exquisite, in my opinion. I'm still kind of getting over it. I'm like, man, it's just an experience to take in. Woo! I can't wait to hear more from Dark Side of the Moon. And in the future, of course, I will definitely add her to my list of considered names of artists to consult one day. Rusanda Panfili, very impressive first engagement. I absolutely loved Dark Side of the Moon's adaptation of Double Trouble. That was experience. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again. Their talents for me.